We have finally made it to the New Jersey State playoffs, where Iovino and company have earned the number 1 seed, and they will be taking on the likes of Westfield in the first week of our playoffs. You have to win 4 times at the quarters, or first round, quarters, semis, finals. Can you do it? Can you complete the gauntlet? Can this Garfield team go undefeated for the first time since 1972? Because of that, I was able to interview 2 players on that 1972 team. The quarterback of that legendary team, Mikey the Jet Carboni, and his left tackle and tight ends and defensive back and whatever they wanted him to play that day, Sammy Williams Jr. First, I sat down with Mikey. I asked Mr. Carboni, I said, what similarities does Oli have to your games, and what are some features that set you two apart? He said that Oli resembles everything you want in a leader, which is something that Mr. Carboni believed that he also exemplified, in that he was tough as nails, trying to make every single play happen, sometimes even to the detriment of the team, which we've talked about with the turnover issues that Iovino has shown in his senior campaign. But he's going to erase that play and move on to the next. He cares about team winning more than anything else. The stats will come. He doesn't go hunt them. He's doing what is asked of him, and maybe even a little bit more that is asked of him. But he's a winner. He exemplifies everything it means to be a Boilermaker. Hard-nosed, tough, willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And those are some of the similarities that he sees with himself and Oli. Some differences is that Mr. Carboni was the Jet for the reason. He was a fast guy. Back then, they weren't throwing the football a whole bunch. He did have a couple passing touchdowns his senior season, but he had 25 rushing touchdowns as the quarterback, mostly in the option game, as that was kind of becoming in vogue then in the high school ranks. But he was extremely fast. He was the guy that was going to just run it down your throats. He had multiple games of 200-yard rushing in a game. Still, to this day, the single-season rushing record with 1,700, just a 9-game schedule. Absolutely absurd, averaging around 200 yards a game. And even more from his teammates. I asked Mr. Carboni, can he do it? Can they win a championship 51 years after you won a championship with your team? He said he absolutely believes it. He said that this team, top to bottom, is awesome. The defense that they have is spectacular. And Iovino at the helm, at the height of his powers, he's been through this a couple times. This is not the first time they're in the playoff. They lost last year in the quarterfinals, and also in the year before that in the quarterfinals. Trying to get to the semis and then to that championship game at Rutgers, where they play it, a team that may be getting the services of Iovino if he doesn't choose Notre Dame, if he doesn't choose Texas, if he doesn't choose any of those other schools that are hounding him. I know he's gotten offers from Ohio State, Alabama at this point. It's definitely going to be an interesting journey for him, but he thinks it ends with a championship here in the last part of this season. He says that, he's determined to win. He cannot accept losing, and that is the ultimate mark of a winner. Something that hit Mr. Carboni and the rest of his teammates exemplified during their run in 1973, and he sees the same here with Oli Iovino and this rendition of the Boilermakers. So they're not impervious to losing, but he's going to take them against everybody else if he had to make the bet. Then asked Mr. Williams Jr. I asked him kind of the same questions. Do you see this team pulling it off? He said he does as well. He said that every member of this team, a good amount of them being seniors, they know what it means to this town to be a good football team. They've shown it all year. They've exemplified everything that makes a Boilermaker, just like Mr. Carboni mentioned earlier. And this is the team to do it. The one thing that could kill them is those turnovers. And he does see a realm where, maybe the lights don't get necessarily too bright, as the kids would say now, but the moment might get to Iovino. He says that he's seen it a couple times this year. He's been to a couple games. He does live very close to the field. He has that propensity, that nagging bug, as you would call it, to get carried away and to try too much. Especially you amplify that in a playoff setting. It could make or break your team. Is he going to make it? Is he going to break it? That's to be decided. I think he has the abilities to definitely make it, but I also think he has the abilities to the other side. He said that his grandson right now is super into Spider-Man. And he's seen every movie about 100 times and says that Uncle Ben once said, with great power comes with great responsibility. And he has both of those things. He has great power and he has a great responsibility to this team. Not turn the ball over, do what he does, and that's just be an excellent football player. He thinks he's able to do that. I asked him if he has a favorite player on this team. And he actually said Craig Ostrander. He said Craig's ability to play both offense and defense, something that I did as a senior. I played everywhere. I think I played almost every position on the offensive line, as well as everywhere on the defense. I played some safety. I played some corner. I played some defensive line. I played some linebacker. And I love watching Craig work. He said he loves watching just that hard-nosed ability to just make the play that needs to be made. You've seen him go off catching the ball. We've seen him make a bunch of tackles, some game-sealing interceptions. He's done it all, and it's something that Mr. Williams Jr. sees in himself. So we got to chat with a couple of local legends here who are so gracious to give their time to help tell the story of Oli Iovino. I went back to Oli and asked him, what would it mean to be a state champion? He said, Vinny, being a champion would be the greatest honor. It starts, I feel like the first playoff game, you're reminded immediately of two-a-days in August and how hard that was and why it's so hard. So when you get to these moments, it's not that hard. When you get to those moments, when you get to these playoffs, when you get to those last drive of the game, you need to make a play to keep your season alive. It isn't that hard, because running in the August heat is hard, and throwing the ball 800 times a day is hard, and getting up at 6 o'clock, doing basically a 3-hour intense workout, then doing an actual workout, then doing whatever you have to do during the day, whether that's go work a job, do whatever, and then go back out there and do that first part again at 6 o'clock at night. That's hard. Playing a game is easy. And I'm trying to make every playoff game, every game from here on out, as easy as possible. And that's what it looked like in the first game. Iovino was able to dispatch of Westfield, and then we get a rematch with Cherry Hill. He went for 326 against Cherry Hill the first time, and he has an even better day here in some regards. I kept asking, I told Oli, but what would it, put it into words, what being a state champion would be. He told me that he didn't have the words yet because he wasn't a state champion yet. But he said that it would be probably the most incredible thing he's experienced to date, and something that he wishes to have on his resume almost more than anything else. He said going to college is cool. Maybe even being drafted to MLB, which is a possibility, is cool. But being a state champion for your hometown football team, there's nothing cooler than that. To have that fan base, to have that community circle around you, something you don't get in any other sport in the country, in any other level of that sport in the country. High school football is truly something special. And to say that I went out and did the very best in that realm It's the ultimate honor. I asked him what does legacy mean to him. It took him a while. He actually told me he'd call me back the next day for his answer. He wanted to think about it. And when I received the phone call, this is what I got. He said, legacy is the lasting implant of who you are in the minds of everybody else who didn't get a chance to know you. How will someone in 10 years look at me? Never saw me play. What do they know about me? What characteristics, what traits, what accolades, what accomplishments can I put forth so that someone who doesn't know me can have the best possible image of me? He told me that he knows that I was talking to Mr. Carboni and Mr. Williams Jr., and he knows we never saw either we didn't see either of them play, but we know the names. He knows why I went looking for them in particular. That's a legacy. That is the ability to not know them, but still know a good amount about them, still have a good amount of respect for them, and understand the impact they have without actually tangibly having. He said that's exactly what I want. I want to look and see that kids playing high school in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years know who Oli Iovino is. If they decide, you know what, no one's wearing 17 again, which is, again, something I don't strive for, but something that would be cool, right? That's because, people know why. Not, oh, why is 17? I can't wear that. A quick history lesson should make them understand that because I put in the most work, I did the most for this school. And that's what legacy means to me. And that's in anything. Obviously, we're talking about football right now, but that's in sports, that's in life. To have a teacher that likes you so much that they tell you to students years and years down the line. And now you're the standard for that class, even though they don't even know who the heck you are. To do something in this community so big that they talk about me, people who don't know me talk about me with that same regard to other people who don't know me. That is what legacy means to me. Leaving behind something worth being talked about, worth being praised. And to, again, have my resume speak for myself and you have a positive impression of me without even knowing me. As we move further into these playoffs, we have beaten Cherry Hill for a second time this year. We have moved on to our third round of the playoffs, the semifinals against Lakewood. They are 8-1 this season. Against Cherry Hill, he threw 4 interceptions. Inexcusable, Coach Spinelli told me. However, did throw for 350 yards, did throw for 4 touchdowns, did rush for 40 yards, did have a decent completion percentage. But most of those 4 touchdowns actually coming in back-to-back drives in the third quarter where they were already up 31-0. So I feel like that was a case of let's run up the score, let's show everybody what Garfield can do, and it just got away from him. I feel like that was the first time this year, even with the interceptions being a thing all year, that we really saw Iovino play outside of himself. I feel like that was the first time we saw Oli not stat pad or stat chase or get away from the task of win the game and put a new focus on dominate these guys. I feel like while that's a decent agenda to have, it wasn't for the right reasons. After already being up 31-0, he didn't continue to take what the defense gave him. He tried to force the issue. Maybe to keep them in the... I don't think that's a theory that's so wild that even as I was saying it, you have to withdraw it. However, they get with a win 38-0. Credits to the defense who did not give up a single point. I do know that Oli ran some extra gassers for him as a thank you / punishment from Coach Spinelli to the defense, who, can we say, have been exceptional all year. If you look down the scores, 10 points, 14 points, 0 points, 8 points, 22, 0, 10, 21, 10, 0, 3. So far, we've seen them, those numbers that they've put up. The worst performance coming, against Ridgewood, a game where Oli had 2 interceptions, and Jersey City, a game where that's just one of our toughest opponents, and probably the lowest output in terms of yards for Oli that this year to this point. But against Lakewood in the semifinals for the first time, winner goes to the championship. The pressure was on. Oli responded. Hooks up with Ostrander right there for 16 yards here as we've entered the third quarter. 13-3, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and just breaking the 200-yard barrier on that play. Later on, at the goal line, he's going to stay poised and find Weisbecker, his tight end, for 5 yards, making it a 19-3 game. As Iovino scans, fires, hooks up, and they kick the extra point to make it 20-3. In the fourth quarter now, trying to put the bow on this. Again, lofts this one up. I think he was pressured, didn't see, kind of forced one up. That's his second interception. However, I can't say that would be the last interception we see from Iovino in this game. He then puts another dangerous ball out there, but fits it in, and that's why he gets so many interceptions, because arm strength like that, of timing like that, he's so timing-based in his routes that, not outside of pressure he's susceptible, or outside of structure he's susceptible, but he's able to make those throws look so easy. That's why sometimes he looks so dumb, as I like to say. They go to the championship game for the first time since '84 and looking to win it for the first time since '73. And Lakewood gives their props to this team as they're going to be facing off against Kearney in the national championship game as we head down to Rutgers, where the Scarlet Knights play. Face off Kearney. They came out firing, and they got Iovino down there, sacked him. I asked Oli before this game, will this be your defining moment? He said he didn't know. He said, win or lose, this is going to define me as a high school player. If I win, I was one of the best players to ever come through here, maybe the best quarterback to ever come through here, maybe the best player to ever come through here. I'll be talked about forever, and that would be cool. If I lose, I'll be the guy with all the talent that couldn't get it done. Lost in the playoffs 2 years previous to this. I didn't make the playoffs my freshman year, even though I don't think anyone was expecting me to as a 14-year-old. But now they do. And if I don't bring it home, it would be a guy that they're going to celebrate, but there'll always be that yeah, but. I don't like yeah, buts. I really don't. Started off poorly in this one, threw an interception, turned the ball over later, and ended up with a 13-0 deficit going into the second quarter. This is where Oli turns that corner. Fires it off to Nguyen. Picks it up, 15 yards. Here we go. We're moving. A good crowd on hand. Both teams, high schools representing here in at Rutgers, the birthplace of college football. Ostrander, same side, 19 yards this time. Oli admitted that he was, for the first time, nervous. He doesn't get nervous, he says. Like he said before, he's the man without fear. He was fearful until that first quarter left. He saw the score and he locked in just like he did against Jersey City. Nothing else mattered. This win mattered. Not this game, this win. Hooks up with Hussein right there, who toe taps for the catch on the sideline. And he's leading this team. He's been so good at final drives in the last 2 minutes of ball games as he tries to will his team back into this one. Ostrander picks up another big reception, the favorite player of Sammy Williams Jr. for his ability to play all over the place. Iovino checks down to a different play and scampers into the end zone. His first rushing touchdown. That wasn't a 2-point conversion since week 1 against Cherry Hill. So he bookends his season with the rushing touchdown apiece in each of his last games, and he's starting to feel it now. On the sidelines, I saw Coach Spinelli say this is going to be a long day for them. As soon as that first touchdown left his hand, he knew it was game over. Oli had officially locked in. And with college scouts from all over watching one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in a state championship game, it wasn't much to love in that first quarter. So much to love here. Throwing a guy open. Ostrander running a flag route. Able to throw him to that sideline, throw him to the pylon, get him open, and get the touchdown. 21-13 now here in the third quarter. As Iovino checks on the defense, fires it over. Weisbecker picks up a block, and that's kind of what he was saying. Sometimes you just got to go and get the 5 yards and let it turn into 20 instead of trying to get the 20 off the bat. He was able to do that there. 4 verticals, one of his favorite plays to see being called, and Setzer gets him. The best cornerback in the state picks him off for a second time, a moral victory. But 15 first downs for the Boilermakers, opposed to just 1 for Kearney. And another interception there as a dangerous throw late. 5 turnovers, but again, the defense coming through, doing what it can. This is something that he has to clean up. It won't help him if he's playing on this field again in the fall. It just won't. Simply will not. He has to be better at getting those turnovers. He has said it multiple times. Finally gets positive rushing yards after the sacks come into play. And gets a positive gain there. Flicking it over to Weisbecker. Great touch on that sideline. And entering this fourth quarter, still hold a 1-score lead as Iovino and the Boilermakers try to extend it. Can they here before it flips to the fourth quarter? Zip it to Soria. He gets 11. Stops the clock as well. Another chance before we hit the fourth quarter. We do it the fourth quarter, and the first play of the fourth quarter is going to be right around the goal line. Iovino rolls out, and he stops, fires. Weisbecker's there. He gets hit. 2-score game, and now the Boilermakers in the driver's seat. Later on, fourth quarter, it is a foregone conclusion at this point. Howell will run it in. Oli Iovino, you, my friend, are a state champion. Can you believe it? As the seconds tick down, the crowd goes wild. The vibes on the sideline rile up. And Iovino delivers a championship to Garfield for the first time in 51 years. And like he said, is this his defining moment? He will always be remembered as one of the best to ever do it. No buts in his conversation. Oli Iovino finishes his high school football career with a state championship. What's next for Oli? These are the teams offering scholarships at this point. Who will he choose? Will he choose baseball? Find out. High school year isn't over yet, but his high school football journey is. We'll see you next time with the story of Oli Iovino.